begin. And I'll let him know when it's time to read. For now, what I'd like to do is invite the chime to sing. And that is a call to arrive fully to this practice. Welcome, everyone. This is SatiSeva, an affinity group connected with Recovery Dharma to reimagine recovery and support using wise mindfulness. One of the 8 folds, one of the 8 aspects on the Noble Eightfold Path, which in Buddhism is the way to understand the causes and conditions of our own misery and malcontent, as well as understanding the causes and conditions that bring us joy and ease and peace. I want to thank you for being here today, and I want to wish you a happy new year. We are taking our first step over the threshold, that liminal space dividing what was into what will be, standing in what is. What is a whole new year waiting to unfold, waiting to reveal itself with possibility and potentiality. And so in this moment, I just invite you to take a look at how you are today. Very simple inquiry. How am I? How does my body feel today? Let's check in together as a community with these 4 foundations of mindfulness: the body, your mood and emotional state of being, your thoughts and perceptions and stories. So just check in with your body real quick. How is my body? And adjust your body so that you can create in your body a little bit more ease. Make sure that you have food if you're a little bit hungry, that you have something to drink for the practice so that you can stay hydrated. If you're feeling a little fatigued, maybe you need a little bit of rest. Notice your mood. Are you feeling kind of dull and bored, worried? Is there an irritant that has been preying upon your tranquility? Your awareness of your emotional inner world here isn't to get rid of it. It's simply to just acknowledge it. Oh, irritant. Okay. Agitation, bewilderment, confusion, sadness. There it is. And then usually, if we have any discomfort in the body, or if we're working with emotions and moods that are difficult and sour, there's usually thoughts associated with it, sort of swirling around. If you have a mind anything like mine, my thoughts tend to be antagonistic. So, for instance, I was working with a little bit of sadness this morning, just at the state of affairs, current affairs. And there was some little voice in my mind going, Julia, seriously, you're going to allow this to ruin your day? It's a beautiful day. Can't you pay attention to the beauty of the day? What's the matter with you, Julia? I thought you were a spiritual practitioner. Yikes. That voice is so heavy handed and ever present. And it always has the same thought and same story to tell. It's accusational, it's annoying, it's an irritant. And no matter how I try to get rid of it, I'm not going to. It's simply a part of me. And by becoming more aware of it, acknowledging it, that's when I assume a little bit more power over it. And I can say, oh, yeah, there it is. I hear you. And you're right. I don't need to let my sadness ruin my day. And I do occasionally need to be reminded that beside my sadness lives this subtle, shy joy. And I need only to pay attention to that for a moment to experience it. So this morning I was carrying this sadness and I walked into the sanctuary and oh, it was so nice to be here. And then I smiled and my sadness and my joy came together in a very tender embrace. And then I sat down and I had the thought there. That's what it means for me to feel whole and centered and at ease. How's your body? What's your mood? Can you identify any thoughts and stories? Can you allow them to be, to just be? Can you allow some other thoughts and stories to arise and be with anything else that you might be experiencing? Just to create some neutrality, which lends itself to some space. Mindfulness, sati, is a means by which we meet ourselves in the present moment, exactly as we are. And we learn to recognize and acknowledge everything that's happening within us in this moment. And we try to reserve judgment, good or bad, so that we can really cultivate a keen observer, a really sensitive acknowledger. This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. And we train, for lack of a better word, when things are going well. That's usually and paradoxically when we have a propensity. Let me speak in a first person. When I have a propensity to ignore my practice, to step away from it. When things are going well, I'm busy, I'm doing other things. But I know with practice and with years of experience that that's when I need to really engage my practice, when things are going well, when I have ease. Because when life inevitably will be upended, and I'm nervous and I'm anxious, or something has happened that has created bewilderment and confusion, that's when my practice is tested. That's when I have to employ my practice. It's not a place to learn to practice. And so I'm learning to practice when the conditions of my life have a little bit more ease. There's some suppleness here. So right now, I'm in a beautiful sanctuary. I'm with all kinds of amazing people from all over the world. We're all together, each of us having our own experience, each of us looking at our own habits, Most of us hopefully have shelter and food. Most of us have connections with other people that remind us we are well loved. These are nice conditions in which we can practice. So let's take a moment to just be here. And I will invite the chime to sing after a few moments of silence. And when you hear the chime, that's when I invite you to turn your attention to our wonderful reader today, who will read 3 paragraphs from the first mindfulness practice called awareness. Enjoy this time. All right, friends. Let's hear from our wonderful reader. Take it away.
Mindfulness practice number 1, awareness. Imagine you are floating out in the cosmos, looking down at the earth in full view, surrounded by darkness, dotted by billions of galaxies and stars. Suddenly, the vastness of the universe becomes an undeniable awareness. It is rare to be here. I am both a small and insignificant something, and I am part of this magnificent wonder. From this view, nothing exists outside of the sacred. The humility of being with this divine presence as something beyond our capacity to imagine ought to be enough to wake us up. Alas, many of us are determined to maintain a much narrower lens, which is why awareness can become a life force to broaden the scope. With a wider view, space is cultivated to include the magnificence of you as part of this universal magnitude containing everything. I like to remember that the legacy of my DNA is the legacy of my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and so on. The mystery of all that consciousness flows through my marrow, rattling my bones. This is the consciousness of the universe, embodied as you and me. We were born from its evolutionary wonder. The enormity of this awareness helps us see the interconnection of everything in life. As far back as we can measure, humans have been trying to grasp the meaning and purpose of being here. How can we live in a world that is both strong and fragile at the same time? How can mountains appear indestructible, yet crumble under the Earth's capacity to quake? How can human beings have the capacity to be both life-affirming and destructive? How is it that the sources of both healing and misery live within us. As awesome as it is to be alive and experience the variety of life that we do, it can be terrifying at times.
Thank you so much. Well done. And that last line, as awesome as it is to be alive, it can be terrifying too. I also want to reiterate this particular sentiment as well, which is that you and me, we are a part of a universal magnificence. And yet, one of the habit energies that I observe so often in myself, and certainly often in others as well, is the propensity to emphasize the negative, the opposite of magnificence, which is what? Worthlessness, ickiness, imperfection, flawed, and so on. And that is true. That's what makes it so painful. And it's not the whole truth. Because the truth is that beside magnificence is misery, maleficence, or malevolence. Both make the whole of us. The awareness of that is about balancing the scales. It's not about getting rid of. It's an interesting thing to examine, because when you use the metaphor, when I use the metaphor of a scale, and I look at the weight of my negativity, my negative mind, particularly when I'm in a place of doubt and insecurity, my scales tip toward that, and I begin to have thoughts of regret, and I have stories and memories of mistakes, unskillfulness, misconduct. And suddenly my positive qualities are fewer. But with practice, with awareness, I remind my mind, I tell myself, hey, whoa, wait a second. From that regret, from that misconduct, I've learned new skills. And suddenly something positive goes in that other scale, that other side, and the weight shifts. Nothing has changed on that negative side. It's just that I have remembered something. And so there's been an increase in the positivity. And I keep going until there's a harmony. And in my life, I am playing with these scales. There's this sort of back and forth. And what I've learned is not to tip the scales to any extreme where I'm volleying back and forth and feeling out of sorts in one area or the other. This is reminiscent of, if you're familiar with the 8 worldly winds, this is that interplay of duality, pleasure and pain, blame and praise, gain and loss, fame and ill repute or infamy, constantly going back and forth. And so the practice isn't about not going back and forth anymore. It's about lowering, decreasing the volley so it's not so extreme, and learning to become a little bit more supple and fluid as we flow back and forth. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. Always we're okay. We can't do any of it without awareness. And we begin this exploration of awareness reminded that we are sheltered under a divine gaze, this unimaginable, unfathomable universe of which we are intimately connected. Each and every one of us, all of life, everything you see and experience is part of this rare, miraculous thing called life. One of my favorite cosmologists, Brian Cox, talks about how, as far as we know, we are the only life in a galaxy of 400 billion suns, and we're one galaxy in an infinite number of galaxies. And this planet is, the conditions of it are such that we're just far enough away from the sun to not get too hot and not be too cold, that over billions of years, billions of things falling from the universe, meeting our atmosphere, falling onto the earth, we've evolved these conscious beings, us, and we assign meaning to being here. And it is a rare thing to be here. Your life is a miracle, so is mine. And to just step into that awareness is an invitation for my mind, anyway, to soften its habit energy toward being so petty and biting in its need to be perfect, and whatever that means, and to constantly nip and bark at myself when I don't measure up to some expectation I've randomly assigned myself, and to remember that, wow, to be here is so rare. And how I'm here, how I'm showing up might just be okay. And if I'm doing harm, to pay attention so that I can learn from that to do a little bit less. That's the practice. That's the gift of awareness. I'd like to end with a gentle reminder of a wonderful trinity. That's a kind of process that we can remember. And this particular trinity is recognizing that it's very human to experience falling asleep to this preciousness of this life, to go unconscious, to not be aware. And then the next aspect of that, as we practice just a little bit, we gain access to a little bit more awareness, a little bit more consciousness. We start to pay attention in new and different ways, so that we realize, oh, from my unconsciousness, from my neurotic, obsessive, petty mind, I am learning something new. I'm waking up to a different perspective. And I can then take that different perspective as an opportunity to heal, to put into my next moments, to put toward my future moments something slightly more skillful, slightly more focused and concentrated, slightly more mindful and wise. And that's it. It's as simple and as profound as that. I go unconscious. I wake up for a moment and gain access to some awareness, and I use that as an opportunity to mature and shift. As we take a step toward the conclusion of this practice, return your attention to your body and to the four foundations of mindfulness. And see if you can check in with yourself with a little bit of loving kindness. My body is strong and resilient. My mood has shifted a little bit to something more whole. My thoughts have settled and are a little less tumultuous, and the stories that I have used to keep myself small and diminish myself are softening and lessening. And I'm just going to breathe, knowing that my efforts here today generate a radiance within my whole being that can be experienced by others. I am like the sun whose radiance I can feel even after 8 minutes. Its warmth takes 8 minutes to travel from the source to me. But nevertheless, I sense it, I feel it, I can experience it. That radiance, that warmth lives in me, and I can extend it out into the world. What a gift. What an awareness. What a practice. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. One more time. Breathing in, breathing out. Thank you, friends. So, friends, we heard so many really remarkable sharings about awareness. You know, just what is arising for ourselves. And I'd like to invite you to sit nice and tall with that. And I want to acknowledge that being in a position of leadership is a tricky place to be. I mean, all we have to do is look around and we can see the misery created by poor leadership, mediocre leadership, unskillful guidance, the demand to trust the leader, which is something I am strongly opposed to. It's something I have a great deal of resistance about. Um, and yet I know that with good leadership I can trust. But boy, it takes me a minute to get there. And I bring this forward because the Buddhist practice, one of the things that the Buddha taught that I admire, I respect, and I bring very deeply into my own heart. And that was the Buddha said again and again and again, do not try to be like me. Don't take my word for it. Just because I said it works for me and you take it for a spin and doesn't work for you, don't allow that to suggest that something's wrong with you because you're not more like me. These practices are meant for you to determine for yourself what works, to trust yourself. In the Buddhist tradition, faith is not about having faith in the three jewels, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, or the Sangha. Faith in the Buddhist tradition is to have confidence in oneself. Because we have someone as an example who understood, who dedicated himself with such pristine awareness that he understood the causes and conditions of his own misery and he taught about it. And those teachings can come alive in me as I decide, as I determine, as only I can see. And as a result, I can share that in a community and be inspired by others, and also be inspired by the space itself, the space of the community. But that community has to be devoted in creating the conditions to be trustworthy, to be open, to be soft, to be wise, to be joyful and compassionate. These are the conditions of a space, of a community that allows the vulnerabilities of others to be held. Not held in a pitying sort of way, or even an even sympathetic way, to be held as the sacred act that it is. To show up with vulnerability is to show up with sacredness. So I want to thank you for modeling that in this community and for creating an invitation for the aspiration to become more trustworthy, to become more resilient and more present, to increase our capacity to hold one another and be here for one another as we all learn to gain more trust in ourselves rather than in me alone. It begins with awareness, which is why the SatiSeva practice, the first mindfulness practice, is awareness. Without it, we're asleep. So let's just breathe that in. I'm breathing in, being aware of where I am right now. Neither good nor bad, it just is. Whatever it is, let it be here. And you can even smile at it. For me, earlier today, I shared with you about my my first thought was a very vain one. So I'm going to invite the awareness of vanity to be with me. Hello, vanity. You live in my shirt pocket, pretty close. Vanity's sister also lives nearby. And Vanity's sister is acceptance. Hello, acceptance. You can be here too. Hello, discomfort. Hello, ease. Hello, gratitude. Hello, taking things for granted. On and on we can go. This simple practice of awareness, breathing it in, breathing it out. Never arriving at perfection because maybe it's already perfect. How's that for a thought? Take that for a spin. There's no need to arrive at perfection. It's already here. And if you don't believe me, spend some time with trees. And what I mean by that, or any kind of plant, really, because the next time you're in the company of plant life, these living beings, you'll find little imperfections. But you'll notice that the plant is probably not telling itself, oh, look at that curved branch. I sure wish it would grow a little bit straighter. That's too bad. That's unfortunate. What's the matter with me? I can't grow a straight branch. What's wrong with me? I don't know that it's thinking that. I don't have the consciousness of a tree, so I don't actually know. But the fact that they make do all the time and the ways they grow is just phenomenal, makes me think that their consciousness is focused elsewhere. Likewise, when I encounter a living being, a plant living being like a tree, I don't sit there and present any kind of scorn, like, really, seriously? You're going to grow a branch with a U shape in it? What's the matter with you? Instead, I'm usually like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I could hang like the most perfect clootie from you. That's perfect. I love it. And why do I not offer myself the same grace? That's the practice. And that's what we get access to when we cultivate awareness. Breathe that in, friends, and breathe it out. And I'd like to um, end today with a couple of announcements, and then we'll have a dedication. The first announcement is that Lo has posted in the chat the link to our website, soulcenter.com. You can see all of our activities. We meet for SatiSeva 4 times a month. We'll meet again on this Wednesday, and we meet from 11 to 12:30, and we'll continue reading from the chapter on cultivating awareness, the mindfulness practice of awareness. We're going to read the next section, which is about resistance. Because right there with awareness, one of the things that's always so nearby is how we resist. And it's a wonderful curiosity. We meet tomorrow for Recovery Dharma at 6 p.m. We also have a new practice tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning. And we're going to have some meditation time. I'm teaching meditations for spiritual and mental well-being. And you can sign up for that. Make a dana offering. If any, for any reason, finances are an issue for you, you can let me know and we'll make space for you. I really don't want finances to get in the way of a person's opportunity to practice. You can also find our recordings for Recovery Dharma and SatiSeva. And if you want to listen to the recordings of the meditations for spiritual wellness and mental health wellness, you can make a dana offering for that as well. It's on the website. Check it out. Email me with any questions or concerns. Let's end our practice today, friends, with a dedication of merit. I'd like to invite you for this dedication to assume a posture in the body that is highly intentional. If you can, sit in a way where the spine is as straight as possible. I'm sitting on a cushion cross-legged and my hands are cupping my knees so that my arms are nice and straight. My shoulders are back. My chest is slightly lifted and my spine is straight. My belly is soft. Strong, noble posture in the body. Breathing in. I am aware. Breathing out. This precious human life. Breathing in awareness. Breathing out precious human life. Breathing in, breathing out. May you take this practice into your day, and may you have the courage to radiate your goodness. And may you even dare to radiate some of your ick too. Just notice. Notice how it leaches out. And be aware of that. It's the only way we're going to heal it. And offer yourself grace and gentleness many times throughout your day as you continue to practice. And I hope I get to see you another time, maybe in the morning, tomorrow morning, maybe in the evening. Until then, thank you for bringing your beautiful practice today. Namaste.